So in this video, I will be discussing why I love shooting during midday sun and show you how I created these images. So hi everyone, this is Jiggy, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. So before anything else, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel and would want to learn more about off-camera flash photography, then this channel is for you. So you might want to consider subscribing, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you want to see more of my images, you could always find me on Instagram. It's at Jiggy Alejandrino. So, as I said in my intro, I will be discussing why I love shooting during midday sun. Now, what is midday sun? Maybe at times of about 11, 1, 11, 12, or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 11 in the morning till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is actually the time that a lot of photographers hate shooting in because of the quality of the light. But I personally love it, especially when I am shooting with off-camera flash. Now, why do photographers hate it, first of all? Because of the general position of the sun in relation to their subject. It is normally overhead during 11 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it creates unwanted shadows on the eye, and more often than not, the light is hard, especially if there are no clouds in the sky or scattered clouds. But that is actually one of the reasons on why I love shooting at this time. Number one, the blues are bluer. The cloud formation is fantastic, and just because of the amount of light that we're getting, everything is so vibrant so long as you know how to bring it out. And how do I do that? By underexposing the scene and adding an off-camera flash. I will show you some behind-the-scenes photos during an actual wedding that I shot and basically show you the process of how I was able to tame this hard or harsh midday sun. So this is my establishing shot. You could see that I already underexposed the scene. Oh, by the way, the camera that I used was my Sony a7R Mark II with a 16-35 f4 lens. And the lens that I used is my Photix Indra 500. This is a 500 watt flash. And the modifier that I used, you could see here, is just a standard reflector, which technically gave me hard light. Now, I don't have any issues using hard light, especially during this time, because I always want to match the quality of my existing ambient light to the quality of that of my artificial light, which in this case was my flash. So, how did I underexpose the scene now? I just used my ISO, my shutter speed, and my aperture. In this particular case, I had my camera, I think, on shutter speed priority at 1/250 f22 ISO 100. So you could see just by those settings on how intense the light was at that particular time. Now, having those settings dialed in, I was now happy with my existing ambient light. I therefore positioned my flash here because my existing ambient light was also coming from here. Because I always want to follow the direction of my existing ambient light so that I don't get any cross shadows and make the light look as natural as possible. Now, you can see here in the next shot that I actually had my exposure correct already. I still had a lot of detail in her dress, but my lightsman was in the shot. However, I could not remove him anymore because if I made him go back any further, then the light spill was not something I really desired, and I could have actually used a grid. You could see him holding it here to focus the light on her, but because of the settings and the intensity of my existing ambient light at this time, having a grid and moving my lightsman further away would have weakened the light so much that I wouldn't have been able to get the necessary exposure that I wanted. So the next solution would have been just remove them out in post. So this is the final image. This is actually the final image already. You could see that they were still setting up here. And all I needed to do was clone this area here, shift my white balance into a warmer tone, clone him out here, and from here we get this particular image. Now I have another example for you. You could see how the sky wasn't as vibrant as how you wanted it to be or how I wanted it to be. And here is an indication of where the light was coming from. It was coming from directly above already. And one thing also that's nice about using off-camera flash, especially at times like this, is that you tend to underexpose everything and therefore bring back the details of the gown. Well, I do that intentionally, but if you're just starting out as a wedding photographer, one thing that's very important is, of course, the details of the gown has to be present all the time. You don't want to be overexposing that because honestly, that is the most expensive part of the gown. So having the light here high above from this general direction gives me the same general direction of my existing ambient light. Of course, I had to underexpose the scene again in order for me to get the blue skies, and you can see here that the greens are becoming greener already. From here to here, the colors are richer, and also my highlights are controlled because of, again, I want to reiterate that I always like controlling my highlights. I don't like seeing overexposed highlights. From here, all I needed to do was pop a flash, and you could see from here, this is the one I was telling you earlier, those unwanted shadows underneath her eyes. It just doesn't give any specularity in her eyes. And as you know, whenever we're shooting, we always want at least the eyes to have that glow because everything is dependent on that connection. So you can see here now that you have a bit of light in her face already. And all I needed to do again was shift my white balance and remove all these unnecessary things here, right? And that's why I love shooting during midday sun. The blues are bluer, the cloud formations are fantastic, and the colors are a bit more vibrant. Now, of course, when you're doing this, you have to consider that you will get really unwanted shadows on your subject's face, and therefore you will need to add a light in order for you to remove all those things. Now, I am able to get away using hard light because I am shooting wide, but if I am shooting tight, then I would be shooting with a softer light, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And if you want to see more of my images, you could always follow me on Instagram. It's at Jiggy Alejandrino. But of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, till the next video.